Alright, today I'd like to show you a Sears belt-driven tiller mounted to a Sears garden tractor. We're going to kind of take this from the back towards the front. First thing I'd like to say is this tiller wasn't meant to be mounted on this tractor, so there was a few modifications that had to be made, and some of them required further mounting and some required just to improve the tiller a little bit. The first thing I did is this tiller is supposedly permanently lubricated with grease, and since it's probably 10 to 15 years old, I went ahead, put the tiller upside down on some sawhorses, drilled and tapped some holes, carefully took a Q-tip to remove the shavings, got it right side up, put in a quart of gearbox grease, and this is a vent that I safety wired in there. This vent is actually the same vent that it's used on the gearbox for this tractor. The next thing that had to be modified was, originally this tiller it was raised and lowered with the cable going forward into the tractor, into the deck lift arm. This does have an arm up there. It doesn't have enough play. It certainly has enough force, but it only had about an inch worth of play. So what I did is I created used a U-channel here, created a mast, welded on 2 ears, and put this electric actuator. Let me see if I'm going to turn this upside down for a second, so if someone's interested in the make and model of that actuator. That actuator has a 500-pound lift, 1,000-pound static capacity, and to increase the authority of the lift, this is the original pickup point here. I moved it, created 2 ears here, and mounted the bottom of the actuator here, and that is how the lift is controlled. Alright, the next thing I ran into was in replacing this tiller. I noticed that this belt was worn. Replaced the belt, put a new belt on, and immediately, as you can tell, it became worn. And that's because when this pulley, tensioner pulley, at certain heights, pulls it up to where the belt actually contacts itself. So what I did is I welded on an extra arm here and added an idler pulley, and both of these arms are mounted to the same pivoting bracket, so they even though this bounces, they're kept separate from each other. I should also mention you're seeing a lot of pulleys and belts here. There is a piece of cowling that goes over this whole assembly from back to front. To get this get this tiller mounted, I had to create a set of custom mount plates. This was the critical part, because this establishes how high the tractor is going to be. And if I can get down low enough, you can see that you have to get it low, but the belt needs to clear the gearbox, and that is tough to do. So we'll talk about that a little later. Here's the pulleys coming up, and working on this plate goes forward. This is 3/8 10/18 steel. Created this to make room for the trailer hitch on a trailer, and also, if you look down here at the bottom, when I bought this tiller, I got it for about, I think it was $85–90. I got the tiller, and they threw in a sleeve hitch or a 3-point hitch, and that is what this arm here is about. So I went ahead and installed it, and to make it so I could use this, these side plates are on permanent here. So what I did is I welded on an ear here, and obviously an ear on the other side, and I haven't modified it yet, but that will allow me to install the 3-point hitch or the sleeve hitch. These brackets here There's one on this side and there's one on the other. What that allows is when you're mounting this, you can move the tiller forward, engage these pins, which are part of the original equipment, and then plug in the connector, lift the tiller up, and what that does is that hinges the plate down. It contacts those stops, and by the time it contacts those stops and this is hanging, what that does is that lines up these bolts here. This was originally when it was supposed to be used. I went ahead and added this bolt to give it a little more sturdiness. And let's move forward here. To control the actuator, what I did was I jumped power from the current deck switch, and I jumped power over to this switch here. So all the safeties and such that goes into controlling the deck switch is because the power is taken from there. It uses the same power, but this switch works independent, and it's just a motor control switch for raising and lowering it. And of course the intent of this is to get an 18 horsepower rototiller going, and used it. It's worked pretty good. The first time I used it, it was really too wet to till, and the front wheels got light. They got enough dirt packed in the tiller. Hasn't been a problem since, but what I did is I spared no expense at getting some brake drums and brake discs, welding them up, and putting it on a bracket here. Got a 2-inch L bracket, use that, and some 2-inch U channel. This is a really tight fit here to clear the exhaust pipe. The exhaust pipe actually had to be moved a little bit, about a 1/2 inch to make clearance. And to make this a little easier to work is in this channel, 2 of these fasteners are the existing fasteners. This fastener and this fastener were existing. I just added spacers and washers, and I slotted the back of the channel. So, and when this is moved into place, what happens is it rides on top of this bolt, and then it runs into the slot, and then it'll sit there by itself. And then I added this bolt and welded a nut onto the back side, and so in effect it just takes 2 bolts. I'll try to get you a view of how the belt works underneath. The belt is coming from the main pulley, and it's coming all the way back to those pulleys I showed you. It's about 140 2-inch pulley, and we had talked about the brackets and making these brackets. That's the really important part of this. Originally I started with paper, and then calculated out, and ended up making 1.8" plywood templates, and the tiller was I actually mounted using this. This was a modification. Found that the trailer actually contacted here, so I cut that out, and then I added this lower part because I wanted to add the ears for the 3-point hitch. I talked about welding on some ears for the drawbar. If you don't know what that is, or a sleeve hitch, that's this here. So if I can get my assistant here to hop on the tractor. When we start this up, I'm going to have the camera down here where you can see these idler pulley do its thing, and we'll go ahead and get her going and do a little test. Alrighty, so that is the belt-driven tiller on the Sears tractor. Hopefully that'll get you a little information. When I was looking to do this, there wasn't much information out there, so hopefully this will help you. Alright, y'all have a good day.